let's start. So I just want to say thank you everyone for being here today. This is the fourth iteration of the webinar series that we're doing for Tableau. We have three parts of this webinar series. If you're interested in any of those, just let us know. I mean, we have recordings for all of them. We started with wireframes. We went through dashboarding, wireframes, and so many. So we were just wanted to make sure that if you need that content, if you know anyone that want to know that content or want to watch previous recorded sessions of this specific webinar series, just let us know. We have it all. We can share. But thank you for being here. So we work at Data Meaning, and so we are Data Meaning is just want to go here, sorry. Boutique Business Intelligence Consultant. We provide end-to-end user solutions to almost many different companies here in the US and in Brazil and in other countries too, in Latin America. And we are partners of many different tools that you probably use, like Tableau or Alteryx, Informatica, Matillion, AWS, you name it. And here are some of our services. Anything that you need, just let us know. We're here to help you out. I mean, we love to talk with many people like you out there that have some needs, that are trying to figure out how to do things with these tools. And if you also need training or anything like that, or anything that you need, delivery management or anything related to data solutions, we can do. For today, we are going to discuss the agenda. We're going to discuss the end user distribution. So we're going to talk to you a little bit about when you're publishing that dashboard, when we took you through all the way through how you create that dashboard, how do you make that dashboard better? When you publish a dashboard, what are some of the best practices? How can you utilize, now when the dashboard is in the server, how can you utilize data-driven alerts? How can you schedule some of those data-driven alerts? How can you use better use of scheduling? How can you get better use of what is available in the server? Then we're going to talk a little bit about row level security and Tableau. And then Michael is going to show you more about this Tableau Metrics. I mean, it's really amazing. I mean, what you can do with the Tableau Metrics. And then how can you learn more? And we're going to tell you a little bit about upcoming webinars. So if you want to stay at the end, I mean, we have so many webinars coming up related to Tableau, but also other tools and other things that they're related with data that you will be very happy to know all of these new webinars that we have coming up. So let's start. I just wanted to tell a little bit more about ourselves. I'm Jamil Medina. I'm a principal consultant here at Data Meaning, also a Tableau ambassador. And I have the pleasure to be today with Michael Perello. He's a principal architect, also a Tableau ambassador. I'm in Orlando, he's in Phoenix, Arizona, and super happy to be here today. Like I said, if you need anything related to server, I mean, there's always a lot of questions about server. If your server is slow or anything like that, or you're having issues trying to reconfigure that server, more than happy to help you out. I mean, Michael is here, have all the certifications related to server. I've been doing server for more than 20 years, so more than happy to help you out with that. So I want to start really quick with publishing best practices. So when you're publishing that data source, to Tableau server, and you probably always, get that little box that we have here. And I'm going to bring a box, actual box here. Then this is when you're trying to publish to Tableau server. You have your options here. You have to select the project. You have to create a name, a description, etc. So we wanted to give you some best practices. So, when you do this, you always want to make sure you have the right project. Sometimes people just put it on default. They go here to the project and they put it on default when you're starting out. You don't put it in a very specific folder. So even before you create the dashboard, or while you are developing that dashboard, make sure that you're talking with your site administrator, or maybe you are the site administrator, and create a specific project. It's very important you create a project, because when you have 300 or 400 dashboards in your Tableau environment and your server, it can become a mess. I mean, it can be very difficult for you to find what you need, or also your users to find it. So create those folders, create very specific projects where you can put that specific dashboard in the right place. And then for the name, we always recommend to make it as short as possible. So create a very short name, because sometimes you're providing this a link to your users. So if your name is super long or super complicated, it will become more difficult for them to find it, or to have that in maybe when they save it or something. So try to make a very useful name. Also, this area here, the description right here, that's something that almost no one fills up. Try to add something to this area in the description. Always try to make, what is that content? What is that you're trying to do? So here, for example, I have this dashboard that it was Standard & Poor economic indicators. So I created, a description for it. Try to create a description that will help anyone that is using this dashboard, or anybody that is on the server looking for some data, or for some or your dashboards, to understand what it's all about. And also tags. The tags is something that also a lot of people are not using. Add some tags there. Add what is it all about. This is a trends for sales, or anything is because sale trends. And then another thing is, you can add if you use something like this, in this example number 3, if you want to put a space on the tags, then you can put a comma between them. You can do like sales trends, and then you can keep separating that with a comma or a space, right? So add those tags, because that will make it easier for anybody to find, all the different dashboards that are related to. Now, the cheats is something very interesting. What we found is many clients that when they go here and they do cheats, right, they will do all. Like by default, it will be all. But honestly, what you want is just to take away, for example, I'm going to take away here college, because that's not a dashboard, right? It doesn't have this square and flight delays and etc. Because when your users are using this dashboard, they're going to see all of those tabs across the screen. You don't want them to do that. You want them to just show, okay, this is the 2 dashboards, or the 1 dashboard, or the 1 sheet that they need. So always try to do that, because most people, what they do this all, and then that doesn't work. Do only dashboards. And if this doesn't apply to this person or to this users, then don't do that. Don't publish everything. And we found that a lot of people are publishing everything all the time. Then the other thing that you can do here is so the permissions. So work with your IT, your site administrator for those permissions. Usually what you want is for that to be taken care of by them, and to that be set up so that when you're publishing, you don't have to deal with that. You don't have to like, okay, what permissions do I have to do for this specific group? So you want to take that on the side, right, and work with them so that when you click here and you select a group of users, they already have their role, they already have their setup, they're set up the right way that you want. And then so you don't have to deal with thinking about how that works. So now that's very important, because that will deal with the security issues, right? And we're going to talk about that later, role level securities and things like that. Now, the data source in here, what I usually do, for example, I do a lot of visualizations related to Salesforce, and I have to connect to Salesforce, right? So that had to be, the password had to be embedded in that data source. So make sure that you're using this and that you're selecting the one that you need. That's embedded in the workbook or whatever it is, make sure that you're using the right way to deal with your data source. So you need to know your data source. Does it have an embedded password? Do the users that are going to look at this dashboard need an SSO, like some type of login? Make sure that you know those things when you're setting this up. And then the other thing is, I usually do that show sheets as tabs, right? And then you can take this up too. It depends on what you want, but make sure that you use all these options. Don't let it go, because most people, what they do when they're starting with Tableau is they just click publish and they click publish and done. And they don't go through all of these different options that are very important, and it will make your life easier in the long run. Michael, do you have any other tips or tricks in here that we're missing right now?
Yeah, no, this is great. You covered most of it. I'll circle back maybe to number 4
Okay, number
again.
4. Yeah.
One of the things, yeah, you can certainly go in and, just check the dashboards and uncheck the other thing. Another pro tip as you're developing the dashboard, when you right click on the actual dashboard tab, you can actually hide all the sheets.
Yes.
So That's a nice way. The other thing is if you have sheets on there that are just lingering that aren't tied to dashboards or you're not using them, get rid of them. Don't carry the extra baggage and, you know, say, well, maybe one day I'll use it or something. If you do, save it as a different workbook, save it offline somewhere or save the raw file. But as you publish, try to keep it lightweight, try to keep the data, focused on answering the questions or whatever you need to do. Um, you want to make sure that things are optimized and fast as possible. We talked about a lot of that in the previous webinars.
Exactly.
So
So
yeah, you can do that right there. Show them right click, show hide all sheets.
yeah,
And then if you need to, you can unhide. This makes it easy. So when you do go to publish, only the dashboards are present. And then you can
yeah.
just go ahead and select everything.
Yeah, so this, to be honest with you, I remember when I started with Tableau, or even the years after I started with Tableau. I mean, I always have like here, like 20 sheets, right? Like when you're trying things out, you're trying calculations, you're trying to, okay, is the data right? Then you do a little cross tab, trying to, do a lot of QA, and all of those tabs were here. I mean, but honestly, when you're publishing, then take all that away. I mean, do hide all cheats, and the ones that are not, that you don't need, like for example, this one, just delete it. I mean, just delete it and then now publish, right? But don't publish everything that is there, because that's what is going to happen. If you click publish and send it to the server, it's just going to publish everything. So you don't want that. Like Michael said, try to send to the server very specifically what you need, because what happens is when everybody's in the server, they go into the server, then what will happen is they will see all those sheets. Some people will see it, or even your Tableau admins will see all of that. So you don't want all that clutter, all that there. It's just way too much information. And just trying to yeah, okay. Somebody, I think, wants
One
to ask.
more,
Yeah, go ahead.
Emil.
Mhm.
Make sure you name your sheets and your dashboards appropriately. I know
Mhm.
previously you deleted something that was the default dashboard one, sheet one. Uh, Everybody, don't do that. As you start to develop, first thing, name your sheets something meaningful. When you publish those things, everything gets indexed. People can
Mhm.
search. And if you get a whole bunch of dashboards that come up, dashboard one or sheet 1, 2, 3, dev, this, UAT, that, um, it doesn't look good, doesn't make sense. So we want to make sure that we're giving things proper names. And as Emil pointed out in the description, give something a little extra. This way, when people hover over or look on something that might be named
Mhm.
something similar, that metadata, those descriptions are really going to help out.
Exactly. So, Michael, I have a question for you. This is from Kayla. She said, will you explain the difference between embedded password and published data source separately?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So the question is describing the embedded password,
Mhm.
and I'm guessing a published data source. So one and both could be one and the same. But let me go ahead and really quickly dissect that. So what we're doing is we are authenticating against the data source, and
Mhm.
there's two ways to do that, or actually several ways, but I'll give you two. One is to embed the password. So this way, when users consume the information from the workbook or the dashboard, they're not necessarily prompted for authentication. The data just shows. And the way you do that is by embedding some credentials. And those credentials are usually some kind of a local account to a database. Now, there's also an authentication method where you can authenticate through something like Active Directory.
Mhm.
That can also be that's not necessarily embedded, but it uses a different kind of account in Tableau server, Tableau Online, whole different story. Um, but the question was more around published data source, so I want to make sure I answer that, whether
Mhm.
that was the intended question or not.
Mhm.
Users can separate their data from their workbooks. So most of us will create a workbook, um, go out to a data source, whether it's Excel or a database, and connect to it. And now that connection lives directly in that workbook. And then we publish.
Mhm.
Well, what if we want to have another workbook tap onto that same data source?
Mhm.
Are we then duplicating that effort? Are we running, a similar query that might happen? in those kind of cases where these might be used by one or more dashboards, let's separate the data. So we're going to do it the same way, where we create a workbook, we connect to the data. Instead of actually go ahead and create the visualization, at that point, what we would do would be to publish a data source. Now, I don't know if we have time to demo, but it's rather simple. We
Mm-hmm.
model the data, make sure, all the fields look good, that we've added the metadata, all the best practices that we've talked about before, and we publish that data source to the server.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there is no visualizations tied to it at this point. It's just the data connection that lives on Tableau Server or Tableau Online. Now, when we spin up our workbook, instead of directly connecting to our spreadsheet or our database, we're using Tableau as that middleman, if you will. And
Mm-hmm.
that can now act as that central point. So if you have one workbook or 10 workbooks, it's all pointing to the same connection.
Correct.
So if you make any changes, everybody benefits from it. You don't have to go into 5, 10, 15 different workbooks to update that data source. That is a published data source, or at least what we call that. Again, Kayla, I don't know if that was really the intended question, but I wanted to make
Yeah.
sure I answered it kind of both ways. You
Mm-hmm.
can embed your passwords for data. You can prompt users for passwords if you want to do that way. But on the flip side, you can also keep a data source embedded directly into the workbook, so it's all packaged together, or you can keep it separately.
Correct. I think that goes to number one, when you can, I mean, that's the best way to do it. I mean, if you guys want one of the best tips is that when you're dealing with data sources, the idea is publish to the data source, to the Tableau server, and then let everyone that is creating dashboards out of that data source to use the same one. And it is in Tableau server. Now, like Michael said, if something happened to that data source where it's being updated with more data or something changed, all the different dashboards that everybody created, and they could be different departments, they're all going to get updated at the same time. So you don't have to do, so it will reduce maintenance, it will be more efficient. I mean, it's just going to be so much easier to deal with that that way. So
Good.
whenever you can, I mean, do that. Then let's talk about data driven alerts and schedules. And this is a lot of fun, a lot of good thing that I do this all the time. So when you're in Tableau server and you have your Tableau dashboard there, publish, and you go to, let's say, this visualization here on the right. If you click on the axis, and you can actually create an alert. So what does this mean? It will show you this box here that you have in here on your right, on my right, I'm sorry, and you're right here. I'll show you this one here. It will show you this, and now you can create an alert. So what does this mean? Let's say you have 10 users on this dashboard. 10 people are actually subscribed where they can look, interact with this dashboard, view this dashboard. And let's say that 2 of them are executives and they told you, hey, Jamil, when the sales surpass 170,000, like here, I want to know that immediately. I want to get an alert. So you can here create that threshold, and you can say, okay, send an alert to Mark and John in this case. So you see where it says recipients in here, I can actually add their names. So maybe 20 people, 30 people are subscribed to this one, to this dashboard. They can view, they can interact, but I only want these 2 individuals to get the alert. You can do that. Or you can even say, I want everyone here to get the alert. Yes, you can do that. You can send it to everyone that have access to this dashboard. You can create a subject. That's what I like it a lot, because you can create a subject. You can create the frequency. When the condition send an email as frequently as possible. You can say the condition. It can go up or it can go down. It's very easy and very useful. This is very important because it increases the use of the dashboard. If you want your dashboard to be, people to adapt your dashboard quickly, to make more use of your dashboard, create this. So I had a client, for example, that was having issues with their dashboard where people were not using their dashboards enough. They didn't have a lot of people using it. People didn't care. They wanted to go back to Excel. So we told them, well, we don't start creating alerts to every single dashboard. Let's go to all your dashboards and let's start creating some alert, at least one few alerts here or there. And then what happened was their users starting understanding the value of the dashboard. They were like, wow, this dashboard is telling me all of these things. I mean, it's telling me these stories. It's showing me the value of me having this data in a format that is not a tabular format, an Excel format. Now I have this charts, these visualizations, who are telling me or alerting me when something happened. And it definitely increased the use of the dashboards like more over than 50% in just a matter of 2 months. So creating this is very important. The other thing is, you see here, there's also this one here called subscribe. So you can use that too. People can actually subscribe themselves, or you can subscribe them. That's the other cool thing. So you make use of this. I mean, this is super, super important. Make use of alerts. It will make your life easier. It will really help you out. Anybody have any questions about alerts? You can put it on here in the chat or in the Q&A. Michael, anything else you want to say about alerts or anything like
Use
subscribe?
them. Use them. Stop doing subscriptions, people. No. I think Yumil's right. So I think we're so used to saying, hey, we need subscriptions, or we want our leaders to get these things in their emails every day. Really, let's be honest, half of them probably aren't just looking at them. They get them to get them. Maybe they'll open them every once in a while. How do I know this? Well, when you're using Tableau, you can track these things. It's just like legacy reporting. It's nice to have. It's great. But let's be more proactive. And that's what alerts are. If you need subscriptions for compliance or other reasons, great. But if you want to be proactive, where you're actually tracking, when certain things happen that you need to take action, this is where you do it. You can actually customize this to say, on certain thresholds or events or whatever, notify me. Good things happen, great, notify me. Bad things happen, great, notify me. This is more intentful. So if you're not familiar with data-driven alerts, you do have to set up these charts in a certain way to actually trigger that kind of threshold feature. You have to have an access of some sort. That being said, there are charts where you can make some hidden access, so don't worry. We provide the links for you, but do check out alerts. We're going to talk about metrics later too. These two kind of tie in hand, alerts and metrics and so forth. It's really more focusing on the data that's important to you, not just one little piece that, just because you get the whole dashboard in an email, you're probably still only interested in a piece of it. So these are great ways. Alerts and metrics are ways to complement that. And we'll kind of show you the metrics in just a little bit.
Yeah, metrics are awesome. So one of the things that always happen with some clients, they tell us, hey, no, what happened? My data-driven alert failed, or something happened with it, or so we want to talk to you about that too. Like, sometimes they fail, but why do they fail? Well, there's connectivity issues. There's could be that somebody remove data source, the credentials change, and so many different things could happen. The good thing about these alerts, what I like them a lot, is because you will get a notification. You will be notified that it failed. Since if let's say that I created the alert, so I will get, the Tableau server is smart enough to let me know my notification failed, it didn't work, it didn't send it. You will get those notifications. And also, if it fails multiple times, it will just be suspended or deleted, right? The other cool thing is, let's say that no one needs this specific alert for a month or two. You can actually resume, put it, don't do it. You can turn it off and put it back again. So you can resume the alert again. So that's the good thing about it. And underneath, where you're going to see all of this information, it's actually right here on this area here. You can see that it says manage my alert, remove me from this alert, add me to this alert, and edit this alert. Okay, so what is this? The user will get that. He can actually remove himself from the alert. Okay, they can add me to this alert. I mean, all of this is available. I mean, they will not feel like you're sending them all of this alert. They can remove themselves from the alert. We can edit the alert. I mean, it's very, very flexible. That's why we wanted to show you this, how it works, because honestly, it's really good. I mean, something that a lot of people don't use, but they should, and it's really successful and very powerful. And also, you need to feel confident that you will get warnings if it's not working, if it gets expired. I mean, all of that is available. It's there. It's already built in within Tableau server, where you don't need to worry that if it fails, you will know, and it will make your life easier. Um, and Michael, anything else you want to add here to the failing data driven alerts?
Yeah, just keep an eye on it. You know, you pointed out several instances where and why it might fail. You know,
Mm-hmm.
there's many more. If you have custom views or the
Mm-hmm.
view is overwritten or something, you know,
Mm-hmm.
that could cascade into a whole bunch of things. Normally, those don't happen. Sometimes they may happen on accident, but you know, that it's more of, hey, you're never going to receive them again versus failing. So just know that, you know, not everything is always permanent. Sometimes things out of your control happen, but you know, this is a good overview of, you know, when it fails, you know, what to do, what to expect. So more times than not, you know, again,
That's
these
right.
things are pretty solid.
Yeah, they're very solid. I mean, you can create, like Michael said, many different ways, and I feel very confident. You know, people really like to see this. I mean, think about if you have a scatter plot and you want to see those outliers. I mean, you want to see, when something. And I know a lot of people, for example, they're using this for data quality too. So let's say I want to make sure, I want to I want to know if I have a transaction, and now, I got like a transaction that make no sense. Yeah, because I'm getting an average transaction, or let's say $50, and now I got one that is 1,000, and I wanted to know that immediately. Use one of this. You're a data quality person, or you're trying to figure out data quality in your data. Use this. This is going to help you out when you want to know something that doesn't make sense, something that comes in, some data issues, before the data came into your, like, maybe you have a data lake and something happened in the data lake, and you want to see here in Tableau, hey, you will know, you will tell them that their data is wrong, thanks to this data driven alerts, because now you're going to get that alert really quick. So there's many use cases for data driven alerts that I've seen with many clients. So make sure, if you
Yeah.
have any questions about that, let me know.
You know, from the IT kind of operation side, you think
Mm-hmm.
of
Mm-hmm.
stale content. You know, hey,
Mm-hmm.
nobody's viewed your content or accessed it in so many days. You know,
Mm-hmm.
this would be great for data-driven alerts. You notify the owner.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's used a license. You know, in X amount of days. You know, notify the admins. You know, let's repurpose that. Or if you have some automation set up, these are great use cases for data-driven alerts. You don't want to send subscriptions out, right? You know, every day.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, you don't have anything to worry about. You're good.
Mm-hmm.
You know, after a while, that's going to get annoying. But when you do get those emails, you tend to pay a little bit more attention. So that's where we're
Okay.
saying, you know, data-driven alerts are fantastic. This way, you don't get into that complacent mode and kind of skip something that might be actually important.
Yeah. So, for example, when I used to work at here in Orlando, Universal Studios and the theme parks, and we were using data-driven alerts, and this is incredible use case, in my opinion. Is a very good use case. Is we wanted to know if the ETL fail. Okay. So instead of being, in this case, you see this one here, it has sales, but we wanted to know if we were getting data. So at 8 a.m., we will get a data driven alert, and we'll say, hey, yeah, we have data. No, we didn't have data. We didn't got anything. It didn't refresh, and things like that. So we were able to see from this if actually it was nothing was coming up, new data. So you can actually create things like that, and it will tell you if you're actually getting data. So it really works great also for, like I said, anything data quality, anything that you want to know if something is happening. Because we didn't want it to come to the office at 8:30 or something, and oh, we don't have data, we don't have dashboards. We wanted to know that early, so the guys from we can notify IT or other people to start looking into that, or what happened, what did it fail. So you can definitely create things like this with data-driven alerts. So that's what I think is really important. And it will just send you an email. You're gonna get it in your phone. You probably get your emails on your phone. So you can get in your phone, oh my God, look, it's 6 a.m. No data, they didn't work out. So I need to do something. Let me start calling people. Let me start getting people out. So when we get to the office at 8:30, we have a dashboard. So things like that will be very useful. So I wanted to show you that. So let's talk about data role level security. So what this is certain data that you want to allow certain users to have access to it. And in this technique, for example, you have a regional manager who can view data from the region, and he doesn't need to see the data from other data regional managers, right? So this is something that is really interesting, really something that I noticed in one of the polls here that we did that many of you are interested to. So Michael is going to tell you a little bit about how this works, some of the approaches of role level security in Tableau. And this is all about security. Security is super important nowadays more than ever. So Tableau have many different features and things that you can do with role level security. So Michael, do you want to talk a little bit about this best practices?
Yeah. So, before we kind of jump into this,
Mhm.
Emil's got links to everything. So Tableau provides some excellent white papers.
Mhm.
And by white paper, I mean, it's pretty extensive. So if you're in the hey, I have nothing better to do with my day, you got a big long white paper to read all the different ways that you can implement row level security or entitlements, if you will. So what we're seeing here kind of on the screenshot is really something that's baked into Tableau. Now you don't need anything in addition to this. This will just normally natively work. There's data source filtering, there's user level filtering, all these different aspects. And the concept of what this is doing, it's identifying here um, based on whether your name equals this, your group membership is that, maybe you belong to a certain domain or whatever, and it's segmenting it out. Now, the idea here is that you have something to compare it with, maybe a lookup table, and this is what we call entitlements. Or maybe you just do it in the calculation itself if you're a small enough shop. Hey, if username equals Emil, he gets to see maybe the West region or this amount of data. If it's Michael, maybe he gets to see everything or so forth. Now, this works great, except for scaling. If you're an enterprise organization, you're not going to be sitting there all day, writing these kind of calculations, tweaking them as you go forward, too much overhead. And this is when we get into maybe more mature operations on row level security. So this in a nutshell is kind of where you would start, just to test drive things. Let's do some user level filtering, or at the data source level, let's implement this as well, right? Again, the username, the member of whatever that might be, and restrict it that way based off, again, some kind of a lookup table, entitlement table. For enterprise organizations, again, the white paper that I kind of referenced that we'll provide the link to, talks about fully developing out entitlements. Okay, let's say you've got thousands of people in your organization. Let's go ahead and mock up what that would look like, their username, their email address, maybe their department, what groups they belong to. And then again, this could marry up to data that lives in your organization, your sales data, your marketing data, whatever that might be. If the group belongs to this or the user belongs to that. But it's I want to say you have to maintain it often, but there again, there's an entitlement table of some sort that lives either in a database spreadsheet that you're using to look up. So that would be something like that second tier. Now, what Tableau's provided, which I think most people are now interested in as we look to data governance and management, is the built-in functionality of centralized row level security. Now, I will caveat this with it does require an add-on feature called the data management add-on. Now, what you get with the data management add-on, whether it's Tableau Server or Tableau Online, is your Tableau catalog. So this gives you full exploration of your Tableau environment, from data cataloging, data lineage, data management, alerts, notifications. Separate from what we talked about with data-driven alerts, This is more like quality. It can actually notify you when things change or data's not fresh, whatever. But the new introduction into this add-on is centralized row level security. And based off your responses earlier, we'll probably end up actually just focusing a whole demo webinar on that because it's pretty big and we're not going to cover everything here. But just know it's baked in. It's nice because once you actually get that implemented, let's say you've got some data sources out there. Now, you're going to hear this thing called virtual connections. This is really where you spin off kind of these centralized row level securities. Create this virtual connection, if you will. Let's say to your Salesforce data or your sales data in your Azure instance or SQL server. Once you connect to that, you could say, okay, I'm going to create a policy on this data. And this policy could be bound by, again, these entitlements, these groups, these users, these other attributes. But it's all baked into Tableau now. You don't have to create a separate spreadsheet or database to manage this. It's all kind of flowing within Tableau through the data management add-on. But not only can you create a policy, but you can create multiple policies. So if you do have a data source where you say, you know what, I want my users from this group to have access to this data, maybe these separate rows, but maybe more so from a different group. Well, that's great because now you can customize that. You don't have to create multiple data sources and saying, okay, for this group, I want them to see that. For this group, I want to create a data source where they're just seeing this. You don't have to do that anymore. This is nice about virtual connections. It's just one connection kind of split up and dissected many different ways based on a policy. And that, we'll demo in a future webinar, but it is that easy. And once you create those policies and you develop the workbook, because you're using that virtual connection, once you come into a dashboard, Yamil had like the stock demo up there earlier, it automatically detects who you are, what groups you belong to, and if you fall within that policy, it's automatically going to scale down the data to only what you should see based on that policy's attributes. And again, there was no coding involved. You didn't have to do anything maybe as a developer. Maybe the data steward who managed that data source already, built that in. And so it's nice to have that kind of mature, scalable aspect. Again, that is the data management add-on requirement, for centralized row level security. But again, the white paper that we'll provide the link to, it's exhaustive. Like I said, it is big, it's massive, and it will give you all of these different ways that you can slice and dice your data, your workbooks, so you can make sure that your users are only seeing what they should be seeing.
Exactly. And if you are like a small, like Michael said, not like a large corporation or anything like that, and you wanted to try or test it out, then you can use these functions called user functions. So if you go to you just go try to do like a calculated field in your Tableau dashboard, right, in your workbook, or and then look for user. So you can see here we have is member of. That means is member of a specific group that you already created in the Tableau server, right? So we're talking about groups that you created, and maybe you have a finance group or a marketing group. So it's for example, Michael a member of this group? If he's not, then he will not be able to look or open this specific dashboard, right? Maybe that doesn't even be able to see this specific data or this visualization, because how this works is you will add that as a filter or as a Boolean filter, like yes or no, in the dashboard, and sorry, in that specific chart data, right? So, or as a filter. So you can use many of these users calculated fields to or functions to in your calculated fields, just to be let people out to look at that data. Like Michael said, it's just not the most efficient way. And if you're trying to scale, if you have if you're talking about a lot of people, a large corporation or something, it may not, it's not the best way to do it, because it's going to be very difficult to maintain. But it's available in case that you need that. There is a question, Michael, for you. it says from Kayla, she said, what will be the easiest way to override row level security for certain users, assuming you have a user entitlement list by client region, but there are certain individuals who should be able to access all. Interesting.
Yeah, so that was a lot to take in. So let me make sure I understand. And Kayla, if I don't get this right, definitely connect with me offline. So what I understood is that maybe you have, some users or groups that have maybe some different attributes. Maybe they need access to this in one way one day, and maybe all of a sudden maybe they get promoted and now they have, wider access, or,
Mhm.
depending on the dashboard. Well, this is the nice thing about the entitlements. So it's not just, username, email address, and then what department he belongs to in one group. You can have these things nested into, different levels and categories. So it can trail down. Maybe, you're a regional manager and maybe you have access to the West, the North, the East region. And let's say tomorrow, all of a sudden you need access to the South region for that user. My recommendation is make sure that this is some kind of a database or a spreadsheet that can easily be updated. And then you would just add that row, or delete the row. And then this could be happening real time, or if it's on a scheduled extract, just like we normally do, it would take effect the next time that runs and updates. So hopefully that answers that question, Kayla. It's pretty dynamic and easy. Um, Again, depending on how you set up your entitlements, it could be, fairly straightforward, or it could be very complex. Um, Again, the challenge is maintaining that, right? And this is why I think having the data management add-on for centralized row level security in the long run is kind of that better avenue. You don't have to keep maintaining or developing or doing these types of things outside of Tableau.
Exactly. Great. So any other question related to row level security? Let us know. If not, we're gonna go to the next section. So very interesting. I really like this. I mean, you have no idea. I mean, everybody in the chat or everybody that's attending, I am doing a lot of these things myself. I really enjoy this feature called Tableau Metrics. So on 2020.2, Tableau, provided this new feature called Tableau Metrics, and this will make easy to monitor key performance indicators. You can, create this. I mean, you can look at it on your phone. I think it's super cool to have this on your phone. You can create, very quick KPIs. It's really interesting and super easy to create. And Michael is going to show you a little bit more. Michael, do you have anything else you want to add about this new feature? I mean, it's not a new feature, but this feature.
Yeah, yeah, I'm gonna actually kind of just demo that. Totally slipped my mind. Earlier in the comments, I put something about this Tableau Release Navigator. I'm going to talk about it just real quick, if you don't mind.
Yeah, of
One
course.
second.
Please, please.
Let me share my screen.
And I'm gonna get the data the management the link, the white paper for you guys.
Okay. Let me know if you could see my
Yeah, I can see it.
browser. Do you see the Release Navigator?
Yes, yes.
Okay. And the reason why I'm bringing that up, Emil had a screenshot earlier about the alert, the subscription, and so forth. If you're using Tableau Online or a newer release of Tableau, that's already outdated, unfortunately. So,
Mhm.
the icons, these things change frequently.
Mhm.
And the way that you stay on top of these things, or if you are planning on doing any kind of upgrades, bookmark this URL that I put out there. This is a great way to kind of see what the differences are, new features, changed features,
Mhm.
and so forth, from version to version, whether you're doing like a Tableau desktop upgrade, Tableau server upgrade, even prep. What are those things that you need to be aware of, changes, new features. So I just wanted to point that out real quick. Okay, so let's go and talk about metrics for a moment. Metrics, as Emil was pointing out, and we've talked about earlier, sometimes and in most cases, people are just really interested in one or two aspects of your dashboard. Yes, I know we spent a lot of time making sure that the whole thing is complete and everything's, but the reality is, depending on the users or the groups, sometimes they're only concerned with, a particular piece of it. And in this case, maybe I am, an executive where I just really want to understand, what's our profit ratio. And this dashboard, while great and everything, I just want to track that profit ratio. How are we trending? How are we doing? Now, before you go out and start, redeveloping the dashboard or spinning it off to another workbook or dashboard, consider using metrics. If you've already got the KPI there, and again, everything is kind of set up with permissioning and so forth, user can come in here, select the metric. So I've highlighted on the 11.9. Now I can come into this watch menu and I can turn on my metrics and I can choose this create button. When I select that, my metric now shows, and it shows me when it refreshed. And I can come in here, and I mentioned this before, let's give things a good name. So I want to track my executive overview profit ratio. And I'll give a meaningful description.
And we added it to the chat, Michael, so that everybody knows, 2 links. The one that says the blog, I highly recommend it. Please click on it, look at it. Incredible use cases, incredible examples in that one called blog.
Yeah.
Look at it.
So that was it. So I gave it a name. I did all that. I saved it to where I want. Now I'm going to go ahead and actually go to my metric. So I'm going to pull up. Did I pull up the wrong metric? I probably did. Let's just use my other demo profitability one as an example. So since I just created this one this morning, there is no real trend. But what Tableau will do every time that this refreshes day after day or so forth, it's actually going to create the chart and show me the trend analysis for this metric. So if tomorrow my metric, jumps up to $57 and then the next day 58 and so forth, we're going to see a line chart where it's going to show me the history of going up and up and up. And if all of a sudden it goes down, we're going to see that trend. I didn't have to create a separate dashboard. And as an executive or leader, that's focused on a particular KPI, this is fantastic because you don't have to do any additional work. You've already done it within the dashboard. That's great. It's there. The other thing is create a whole bunch of these metrics. And as Yamil kind of pointed out first, these are really designed for mobility. If you're using your phone or your tablet, you bring up your thing, you can see everything there. How do you organize these things? Great question. There's this new concept called collections. Collections is something that you can create that collects workbooks, dashboards, metrics, views, whatever it might be, and consolidates them so into something, think of like a function, something specific. So maybe I might create a collection called executive leader KPIs, and I would dump these metrics directly in there. Now these metrics, again, are just feeding off of that existing dashboard. So don't delete that dashboard because then your metric would cease to exist anymore and it would fail. But you don't have to create anything. Let me jump back there again and we'll create one more. Let me delete these. Let's just look at maybe the overall sales. That's a good metric to track. So I'm going to go back up to watch. I'm going to click on my metrics and I'm going to create it. Now you can see down here, my metrics are starting to come together. So I'm going to create this. Again, we'll give it a meaningful name, executive overview, sales, another meaningful metric. We don't have anything really to compare that with. We'll keep it in the sample folder and we'll create that. Fantastic. So that's there. we can go and watch that again. Now, if I want to look at my metrics one more time, everything, it's all right here. Now, if I wanted to, like I said, I can come back and I can create a collection. Where's my collections? Sorry, guys, I'm trying to do this real time. And I can come in here and just start adding content. So I can pull in from the demo where I want. So this is maybe my executive KPIs. We'll save that. And then I can add my KPIs in here. This way, if I wanted a one-stop shop where not just, one leader might be able to access it, or maybe they did, maybe they created the KPI and said, you know what, I need to share this with my CFO, or maybe my line level managers, they can actually add that content to this folder and share that out. And that's a super easy way to kind of stay up to date without having to redevelop dashboards and specific metrics, for the group. Just use existing dashboards, pull that, and that's what metrics can do for you.
Yeah. I want to make sure that everyone is be able to see to see the links. I noticed someone just put a question here saying that they cannot see any links. If you have anybody, just let me know if you don't see any links in the chat. I mean, I thought that everybody was able to, but not sure if that's working. Just want to make sure that's working. So anybody, if you cannot see the links, we have put multiple links in the chat. If you cannot see it, just please let me know.
Real quick, Emil, I know we didn't really get to it, but this would be another topic if people are interested. Most of these visualizations, even the metrics, you can go and share content with users. And this built into Tableau, and that's great. If you are an organization that does use Slack, Slack is now a Salesforce company. Tableau is a Salesforce company. Slack can be integrated into Tableau. So if you want to leverage that and communicate through Slack, that is also another easy way to share content, to notify, to alert. So if you're interested in that, if you're using Slack, we'd love to hear about it. Maybe even do a webinar and showcase some of those capabilities.
Yeah.
All right. That's all I got.
Okay. Well, that will be, that's great. Second, let me go get back the screen. Oh, so like Michael said, we went through Tableau Metrics, really interesting way that you can do, you can create those real quick KPIs. Don't forget to use that. I mean, try it, play with it. It's awesome. We're almost getting to the end here. We wanted to let you know here at Data Meaning, we provide great Alteryx and Tableau training. We have certified Tableau and Alteryx trainers. I am for myself a Tableau certified trainer, and we provide many different courses and training. So if you're interested in any of those trainings, just let me know. This is just an example of some of the training that we have from beginner, intermediate, advanced. I mean, we can provide any training you can imagine. We can be on-site or virtual. Just let us know what you prefer, and we get that very competitive prices on that. So just let us know. And also upcoming webinars. Like I said, please take a couple minutes so we can talk to you about some upcoming webinars. We have a webinar in actually one, I think tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow with Trifacta. This is, if you are doing like data engineer, you can do this data engineer in the cloud. And we have our Alteryx Ace, Trace Marks is going to be doing that tomorrow at 12. If you want to know more about Trifacta, how can you start with Trifacta? Don't forget tomorrow, this time, 12 p.m. Eastern. He's going to have that. And anybody, I can provide anybody the link if you're interested. And then also we have on May 5th, Shifting Your Mindset, How to Become a Successful Technology Leader with Andrea. And that's on May 5th. Introduction to Matillion, June 8th. And this is very interesting, this one. Alteryx Server and the Scandinavian Tobacco Group. This is a really important webinar for us. The director of BI, Kristina Hewer, June 29. And that's another really cool webinar. And this is very important for me. If you're going to be in the Tableau conference or the Alteryx conference, let us know. We wanted to talk to you over there. We wanted to meet you in person. We're going to be on both conferences. This is going to be May 17 to 19. This is not a typo. Actually, both conferences are at the same days. One in Las Vegas, the other one in Denver, Colorado. They're going to be the same week, both conferences. So, so this is not a typo. It's actually real. We're going to be on both of them and in person. We're going to have also speakers on both conferences. In the Alteryx conference, we'll have multiple speakers. So we're going to do many different sessions. And in the Tableau conference, we're going to be there too. Michael and I will be doing a session at the Tableau conference in Las Vegas, the 17th to the 19th. If you're going to be there, please, more than happy to talk to you, meet you in person. Just let us know, send us an email. Let us know. And here are our information. My email, Michael's email, like I said, tomorrow, introduction to Trifacta. More than happy. Yes, Phil, he's asking about early webinars. Yeah, Phil, we can definitely send you that. We can send you some links so you can access the previous. We have 3 previous webinars to this webinar that are for the Tableau Webinar Series, all related to Tableau, from wireframe, dashboarding, you name it. We have it there, and very important if you want to look at that, more than happy for us to provide you that information. Let me see what else. We'll get back to you and send it to you. We got Phil Fry, or send us some information. I want to make sure everybody, were everybody able to look at the different links that we provided on the chat? Was the chat available for you to look at? I mean, I don't know. I hope so. Let me see. I hope so. Yeah. Oh, so Phil, the links for the recordings are on the chat. Can you please let me know if you can see that chat, if you can actually see the recordings? Somebody put it there already. Just want to make sure. I'm wondering if anybody can see the chat. Hopefully. Okay, great. You got them in the chat. Okay, so the chat is working. Okay, great. So anybody, if you need any of the previous webinars, and the actual recordings, I'm sorry, the recording and the webinars, they're all in the chat, and the upcoming webinars. Yeah, so everything should work. And like I said, anybody, if you need anything else, or if anything that we're missing, or you need further, links, information, anything related to this content, like Michael said, data management, or anything like that, or any further questions, Kyle, if you have any further questions, more than happy. Contact us at these emails at jamil.medina@datameaning.com or michael.perlo@datameaning.com. And also we have info@datameaning.com. Anything that you guys need, more than happy to talk to you and help you out.